I've been doing coaching for a few years now. When I first started, I did not realize, I absolutely did not realize the severity of the food addiction issue. I knew of it as something that perhaps just a few people suffered from. Boy, was I wrong. So I soon discovered that, it would be usually hidden. I'd be meeting with a client for a couple of sessions, and then I'd be wondering, why is she not able to do this? This is just a simple, just one thing to do for 1 week. And she's struggling. And then it would come to surface. And not many people used to confess. Going back a few years ago, there was that guilt and shame around it. So I'm really happy that we're opening up as a society now. And we're talking more of the issue, because unless we acknowledge that there is this issue in our societies, we're not going to be so able to address and solve the problem. Pim, what are your thoughts about that? Are you happy that we're now more open about this topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the first step is to become aware of that it's a problem. And I think as a society, we like to normalize our disordered eating as as a group, because food has been used for so many years to celebrate, to do, all of the things, but now we have celebrations every day. And we also have super processed foods which are addictive in nature, because our brains can't handle that sort of information when we eat those kind of foods. It's not natural. So it kind of hijacks the brain. And that can just be, for some people, it's just like a bad habit. For some people, it keeps kind of developing into a food addiction. But whether it's a bad habit or a food addiction, it still works on the same neural pathways in the brain. It's just that some people get addicted to food, some people get addicted to gambling, some people get addicted to alcohol, whatever it might be. It's like, for me, I can only get addicted to food, and I think computer games, there's no other substance that I've ever tried. I don't like alcohol, for example, or whatever, that kind of feels appealing to me. So I think there is probably a genetic component, but every human being has the ability to become addicted to something unless there is an impairment in the reward system in the brain. That's my belief. And then we have, I don't know how deep you want to go into this, but this, like, the society that we live in now, everyone is so isolated, and that's not how we have evolved. And if we go back quite a bit in time, we used to live with family, or back even further with tribes, etc. Children weren't just depending on two parents that had to work full time and being left somewhere. So we have a lot of childhood trauma. Some isn't very severe, but for some people it can be quite severe. So I think trauma is a spectrum, but any kind of trauma that is underneath can also lead to an addiction, because it makes it literally, if it happens in childhood, your brain will develop in a different way. And if you want to learn more about this, I really recommend that you watch Gabor Mate. He's really good at that piece. But it's very interesting to see how we then become dopamine seekers. We want that reward. So if you're then someone who is prone to food addiction, you're definitely going to go to food. So our society isn't set up for human beings. I mean, it's very comfortable, it's nice, things work, but we're not in our natural environment.
So you believe it all starts with childhood trauma, or not necessarily?
I think for many people it probably does, not necessarily for everyone. I mean, I don't have any childhood trauma that I know of, but having said that, it could be as simple as as far as I remember, I was always into food, and I always wanted to eat. I loved toast, I loved cookies, I loved all the carbohydrates. And I used to go and like, I want a sandwich, or, I want some toast. And my mom was not a mom that liked cooking. So she would say, nope, we're eating in an hour and a half. You can't have anything, because then you're not going to be hungry when dinner is ready. And I rather have toast than dinner. Like, let's be honest, I love the carbs. And I would obviously have a tantrum about it. And the thing is, then she would get angry, and that can actually be traumatizing. It's like, if I don't get my needs met and I'm being my authentic self, which is the little kid that is having a tantrum, then my mom will get angry at me. So then we start hiding things, and we kind of start penting up those emotions, and that can then lead to even a worsening of this behavior. So like growing up, I never hid that I was eating stuff. But then when, as a teenager, it started to get a little bit embarrassing how much sugar I was eating, and I would kind of buy it and then hide it in my pocket and eat it in my room when no one saw it. That kind of addictive behavior was happening very early on for me. And I didn't think anything of it at the time, but it's entirely possible that those kind of experiences where I, as a child, didn't get my needs met have actually helped just propelling this forward, which I think I would still have got there, judging from my behavior and my propensity to want to eat carbs very early on. But I think it probably wasn't helping.
So when we're talking about food addictions, you did mention carbs a few times, Pim. So we're specifically talking about carbs, right? Or do you actually get a client saying, "Oh, I'm addicted to steak. Oh, I'm addicted to broccoli"?
I haven't
Is it
had
always
such
the
a client
carbs?
yet. Yeah,
That'd be great. Shake their hand.
Exactly. I'm trying to think if I've had anyone who's just like into. I mean, I had binge eaters that they will binge on anything, and it doesn't really matter what sort of food it is. But then there's usually trauma behind binge eating, to be honest. But most people, it's some kind of processed food. So peanuts isn't straight carbs, but that's one that kind of comes to mind, especially in the beginning when I was coaching. I think I had 3 clients in a row that all had either peanut addiction or peanut butter. So that was an interesting one. But most of that is, peanut butter is processed still. So most of the time it's some kind of processed food that we're not used to eat. Well, we shouldn't be used to eating it. So most of the time carbs are involved in all processed foods. So that's why I'm talking about carb addiction. Personally, for me, it was more sugar that I was really struggling with giving up. Sure, it was kind of hard to give up bread, but I could do it. But the sugar, not for me.
I have a question, if it's okay. Do we jump in and just ask?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a carb addiction or sugar addiction. So I have this quick question for you. Do you have athletes that have issues like that? Because I'm a runner and I run all the time. I run 7 miles probably twice a week. So I don't have a carb addiction, but I used to. And then another friend of mine and I, type 1s, we were actually bulimic. So have you ever seen anything like that? And I got hold of it, and so did she. She eventually died from it. But what's your thoughts on that, Pim? I just want to know if that has ever come up. Athletics, bulimia, and
I mean, I don't work specifically with athletics, but I used to be a personal trainer for like
there you
15
go.
years. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would say a lot of my colleagues, they probably had more of a disordered eating in terms of being scared of eating processed foods or crap because you don't want to like not look the part and not perform at your max, etc. But I did have one colleague who definitely she had bulimia and she had anorexia before. And at that time, I didn't know what I knew today. I was studying nutrition at the time. This was a very long time ago. And
wow.
Yeah, I think the thing with athletes, especially where I was working, because we were professionals, so we would probably mostly hide it from each other because it was a very embarrassing and it was a very shameful thing to go around and teach other people how to exercise and how to, eat and then just sit and stuff yourself. And I was surely eating, like, I bought these small chocolates, like bite-sized things to excuse myself and just like I can have one when someone's looking, and then the rest were hidden in my bag. Like, so if no one was looking, I could eat lots of them. But if someone was looking, it's like I pretended I just had one.
I love that. That's
So,
cute. I like it.
yeah. Well, it's silly, but I mean, it was embarrassing to me. I didn't want to be that person that was eating it. So, but I did work with some people at the time as a personal trainer that definitely had a problem quitting the carbs. And then when I got more and more into the keto low carb space, and I had many clients as a personal trainer that had like autoimmune issues, all sorts of things, and just trying to tell them to cut out gluten was like banging your head against the wall. So I don't think athletes see their carb addiction as an addiction most of the time, because they need to carb load and they need the energy because they're working out so hard, etc. And you don't see it on the outside. I mean, I wasn't fat or overweight. Sure, I had a little bit of extra padding, but I was working out so much that it was kind of hiding the problem, if you like. So I think the biggest problem for athletes is to recognize that they might actually have a problem, and they might not even know because they're not even trying to quit. They're just excusing it with, I need it.
Well, you guys are amazing. So just so you know, and have inspired me, and my running's getting better. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So anyway, no carbs. There's sometimes. No carbs.
Yeah. May I just add, I've been listening to Gabor Mate, and what he was, because he really explored the addiction world into the native people in Canada. And what he was saying is that usually the trauma can go back from 2-3 generations before.
Yeah.
So if your grandparents have been traumatized, that will be passed on to the next generation.
That's a good point.
In my case, I realized that sugar was not something that my grandparents would have easily when they were younger. So when the sugar gets available, or the processed food get available easily, it was a way to enrich them. They feel richer. So that's when they were displaying on the table all the cookies, the cakes, and all that sugary stuff. So when we get to our grandparents, I remember that we were like freeloading on those things. And and I think that's more that you eat them because it could be rare, or it could be a symbol of richness. Then you get addicted even if you don't realize it, just because it's there, you're eating it, and your body asks for more. I think it's a how do you say that? Go around.
Vicious
It's
circle.
going around.
A vicious circle.
Oh yeah, it's a circle. So you see it, you want to eat it because it's rare. Then you just have more and easier to get. So you eat more, and there you go. You're in that circle that you cannot stop easily.